Karen is sitting and anxiously drinking her coffee. She enters the room, which is a courtroom, and a judge starts asking her questions. Karen says, "I first got involved on the 15th. On the 15th of May, Karen goes home. She watches the news on television. According to the news, 20,000 people have signed a petition calling for Joe Powers to be fired. Joe Powers walks on her way home. She checks her phone and sees 86 mentions. A delivery man approaches and hands her a package. She initially refuses to accept it, but the delivery guy tells her it's from a bakery. Joe accepts it and enters her house. She opens the package and sees the rude message on the cake. Nonetheless, she cuts a slice and eats it. She gets on her computer and checks her social media account. She received a lot of hate mentions because of her article. Karen is still watching television while eating ice cream. She receives a message and she immediately heads out. She arrives at a crime scene. A woman talks to her and introduces herself as Blue Coulson. Karen asks who the victim is. Nick tells her it is Joe Powers. They enter the room and see Joe's lifeless body. Blue checks Joe's computer and sees hate comments for Joe are still pouring in. Karen drives Blue home and they continue chatting on the way. The next day, Karen arrives at work. She sees Nick and Blue looking at the CCTV footage from Joe's house. Nick says no one entered the house and the only people inside were Joe and her husband. Blue starts looking into the hate comments given to Joe Powers. Nick tells them Joe's husband is already conscious and talking. Karen and Blue go to the hospital to speak with Simon, Joe Powers' husband. He tells them he heard Joe screaming from upstairs, and when he went to her, she was walking around her room, stumbling and clutching her head, like she was in pain. Then she started clawing her skin. She smashed her head hard on the desk and pushed him over. She saw a bottle smashed on the floor, so she picked it up and started cutting herself. He tried to stop her, but she cut her throat. Blue tells Karen that maybe there is some sort of drug mixed in the cake that was delivered to Joe. Karen says the cake is already being examined. They go to the person who sent the cake to Joe. Liza admits she sent the cake and that she's not the only one who paid for it. She adds that the cake was a form of freedom of speech. Blue shows her the post where Liza said, "Death to Joe Powers." She answers that it was just a joke and she doesn't know who started it. Toxicology informs Karen that the cake is clean. As they leave, Liza insists she didn't do anything. Karen tells Blue that next day, Simon will be discharged and arrested. Another person is receiving the #death too. Nick says everyone on the internet is pissed with Tusk because of what he did to a kid. After Tusk's show, he meets with a friend and suddenly, he screams in pain. He gets sent to the hospital. As they try to figure out what's going on, they see something come out of his head, something that looks like a bee. Sean goes to check Tusk's body. Karen and Blue visit the laboratory to check the autopsy of Joe Powers. The doctor tells them he found a thing deep inside Joe's brain. He shows it to them and similar to Tusk, it looks like a bee. The insect made its way to the brain's pain center. It causes so much agony that someone will do anything to make the pain stop. Karen and Blue meet Vanessa Dahl and Rasmus Sjoberg, the head of ADI. Karen asks him about their bees. He tells them the bees have a sensor, make their own decisions, and they also reproduce. Karen tells him they think one of their ADIs is the reason for an unexplained death. Rasmus checks the bee and confirms it's one of theirs. Blue asks them, what if someone hacks an ADI and controls it? Rasmus replies that the ADIs have military-grade encryption. Rasmus checks the ADI near Joe Powers' house and shows them a recording of what happened. He notices something odd. He explains that when ADIs pass between hives, they switch from one jurisdiction to another. Blue suspects someone might have spoofed a hive and tried to control it. Rasmus says it's impossible. Karen asks him if he could trace who did it and asks for a list of all the granular staff who had access to the system. Karen and Blue return to their headquarters. Sean Lee, from the National Crime Agency, introduces himself and tells them that there has been more than one ADI case. He shows them the video of what happened to Tusk. Karen tells him the two victims have similarities, both were in the middle of an online hate storm, or as we call it today, being cancelled. Blue does her research. She sees they are both cancelled on social media, hours before their death, and people use the hashtag #DeathTo, plus their names. Blue traces back the tweets, and she finds the hashtag's first use was last weekend. Karen asks who did it. Blue tells them it's automated, like spam, and the account's profile photo is of a bee. Blue shows them the Game of Consequences video attached to each post. The video shows instructions about how to pick the next target. People will pick someone they don't like, then someone who gets the most votes will be killed after 5 p.m. The voting resets at midnight. They see someone being targeted that day. Clara posted a photo of her pretending to piss on a war memorial. Sean tells them they must get her before 5 p.m. They alert police and warn Clara. Karen instructs her to stay where she is and close the windows. Blue sent Rasmus her postcode to monitor her area. Rasmus tells her that he set a trap for the ADI if they will attack. They arrive at Clara's house. Rasmus informs them of an attempted breach. He tells them one ADI goes offline about 800 meters from their location. They take Clara to a safe house, but the compromised ADI was able to follow them. Suddenly, while Blue was on a call with Rasmus, he sees they have lost a whole hive of ADI, and thousands of them are close to their location. Calls have become unstable. The hackers quickly take over the entire hives, and Rasmus loses control of them. He warns Blue to get out of the area, but it's too late as thousands of ADI break into the safe house. Blue and Karen try everything to protect Clara, but they still manage to kill her. Back at the headquarters, Blue tells them the ADIs may have facial recognition because they only attacked Clara when she and Karen are also in the same room. Blue and Sean get into an argument. Karen stops them and tells them the public will know about what happened to Clara, and soon they may have another body. Rasmus tells them that if he can figure out how the hackers got in, he might reverse engineer it to get the control back. Nick tells Karen he picked out some persons of interest. News and social media start reporting on the killer hashtag. News reports the next target is Chancellor Tom Pickering. Tom requests to shut everything online. The entire room disagrees, and Sean suggests hiding Tom in a safe place. Karen interviews Tess. Tess claims that even though she made a mistake, she doesn't deserve the hate she has received online. She tells Karen she tried to hurt herself, but her flatmate Garrett Scholes found her and saved her. She also reveals that both of them worked at Granular for the ADI. Karen rushes to tell Nick and Blue they must find Garrett. They tell Karen that Blue discovered a 98-page manifesto buried on board the ADI that attacked Joe Powers. The manifesto's recurrent theme is Garrett wants people to face the consequences of their choices. Nick goes to his computer to post hashtag death to Garrett Scholes. Blue finds out where Garrett is staying, and they quickly go to the place. Garrett sees the hashtag death to post for him. He's not there anymore, but they find a hard drive. Back at the headquarters, Sean tells Rasmus to deactivate it. Rasmus finds a file and tells them it wasn't there before. Blue finds that there are 387,000 IMEI numbers on the file. They soon realize that the 387,000 IMEI numbers are the people who have used the hashtag #DeathTo. Nick reveals that he used the hashtag to try to get a response from Garrett. Karen suspects that something is off about it and worries that those people might be the actual targets. Sean pressed the deactivate button, hoping it would stop the ADIs. They thought it's successful, but Karen was right. The bees started attacking everyone that used the hashtag. Garrett alters his look to avoid being identified, threw away the computer he used to hack the ADIs, and leaves. The ADIs managed to kill all of their targets. Karen concludes her testimony by telling the judge that Blue has killed herself at a beach. Garrett is somewhere watching the live broadcast of the trial. He doesn't know Blue is following him. She texts Karen through an encrypted number that she got him. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new release. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.